Are you recording now?
Yeah, we're recording. We're on now.
But it's interesting. It's important to bring up critical issues, though. So that's
Well, yeah, because
perfectly fine.
like Will said, we're all sharing the same dilemma of like this chicken and egg scenario. Like how, yeah, we all want to develop cool metas and cool experiences, but the financial viability of that all roots is rooted on whether or not people come to pay to play, basically.
Yeah. So kind of to frame the conversation that we're having now for everyone watching is what's the incentive for any player to come to Decentraland when first there's nothing to do. Then if there's nothing to do, then what's the incentive for the developer to build anything if there's not a player base to monetize? And then what's the incentive for the landowner to purchase any creation by any developer if they don't have players to show up on their land to play and potentially monetize their land? Mm-hmm. And the way that I break this down is if with MetaZone, the idea was to showcase that there is a market, there is a place where creators can monetize their creation so that they're not just building stuff and likely wasting their time. And then on top of that, we're showcasing that landowners' intent of the reason why they have land is because they hope to monetize it to a certain extent. Now, everybody doesn't have to monetize. You could just put up art and for art's sake, and that's the purpose of your land. But for other people who consider this more of an investment, well, they have a place to potentially monetize with creations done by developers through MetaZone. And the main reason MetaZone exists is because right now, if I create something and I sell it to Maddie, I have to give the source code to Maddie so he can go and deploy it. And Maddie could take that source code, copy, and send it to everybody on this call for free, which doesn't allow an incentive for as a developer to do that, right? And so with MetaZone, you're sharing that source code with us. We're keeping it safe and not sharing it with anybody. But then we're deploying that creation to a bunch of landowners in a few clicks. So that's the real purpose of MetaZone. Now, the fact that there's still daily active users is low. That's something for the community to kind of contribute. As to our opinion is, if we tell developers that there's a market, there's a marketplace that they can sell their creation, that at least cracks the egg in the chicken and the egg situation. Because players are not going to show up to Decentraland to do nothing, no matter what. And then the whole idea of Decentraland popping out these NFTs is also not sustainable because those NFTs end up being worthless if they just keep coming out with NFTs. So there's sort of like an underlying issue that we need to solve as a community to bring that DAU up. So that's kind of how I look at things.
Yeah, the platform is really early though.
It's
only 2 months old, being public, and the DAUs across the board of NFT projects. And I think integrated into this, the discussion also was around how do we get sponsors and other people involved in paying for these experiences, based on the statistics that will now be available to us in terms of how many visitors we're getting a week and our retention rates, as opposed to not knowing those before. So now we'll know them, and those are the numbers we can go to sponsors. But the discussion previous to this recording was, will sponsors be interested seeing just a small number of daily, DAUs of 100 people max? Is that appealing, and how do we make that appealing? Obviously, that has value because in the past, CoinFest had like 60, maybe 100 people come through, check out their conferences, and watch 20 to 30 minutes worth of pitches. That's 100% valuable. Not to mention the Twitter sharing and all the content you get, and the exposure you get there. So how do we package that as well? That those visitors that we are getting are a lot more valuable than just the 1,000 impressions that advertisers might see or sponsors might see.
Another thing, Iman, real quick. We have to think about this a little bit differently for Decentraland and the metaverses. Is a conference in a physical space that makes sense to sell for like 2 days? People show up, they fly in, they experience a conference, all the kiosks, and I don't think you should replicate that in the metaverse. we have to think about this a little bit differently. A conference in Decentraland should be an experience that can happen at any time of the day, and you'll have the experience that you came for without having to wait for necessarily a crowd to be there or a presentation to show up. Or we have to think about this a little bit differently than just trying to emulate a conference within the metaverse. It's like why, if you're going to build a house on your land, why does it have to look like a house that looks like the house across the street? Why can't it be?
I always question that.
Yeah, well, like, why can't we just think outside the box and build a home that has the same, idea of a house, but it looks like fantastic, right? Yeah. Something that you couldn't have in the real world. So when you're talking about a conference within Decentraland, it has to be different.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things on that about like the conference being different and that whole thing. I've been kind of like talking about this a lot lately about not being stuck to just whatever's on your land and you can change it.
Yeah.
Because I've been coding my scenes in and with the flip of a couple, buttons, I could change my scene completely if I had another GLB and animations all lined up. So, if you, with that in mind, you could have a conference, let's say, like, and I was talking about the Monopoly thing the other day, which you were, right? So, like, you could have a piece of land that's over there. All right, that's another spot to go to, for, let's say, the same group of information. Let's say it's a country music conference. I don't know nothing about country music, but just saying, and this booth is on this piece of land. There's a performance going on over there. And then this booth is on this piece of land. They're trying to sell this kind of thing or whatever, and so like, it's not necessarily has to be in the same place. It could be, that's not a problem either. But I'm just saying, like, it could be on your, let's say, on your piece of land that you normally have a store on, but you decided to participate in this thing.
Yeah.
So now it's being loaded with a scene for the weekend,
Yeah, that's.
I think in time people will start to innovate on new visual ideas and things. Everyone's capped with their imagination because they can only create what they know.
Since I've been building, like I thought I was smiling when you said that because I'm looking at my building. My building's a big square, but it's efficient. It takes up most of the space of the whole scene. It doesn't take up the triangles. It looks decent, and it's a square, but it doesn't take up a ton of triangles. It left me a lot of room to do everything else. Like tonight I got the party going on, and I got it like loaded with triangles with like different things.
Yeah, so I'm not knocking any design that looks like pretty standard like a normal house would. It's more about like a frame of thinking where we're not limited to traditional physics. And
because like we have up.
Yeah. Right. We have volume. Like, for example, if you go to our MetaZone tower, there is no structure there, right? We have a ramp that goes to the second floor, but we don't have any pillars on the other side, like standing this thing up, right? So we got to think outside the box with Decentraland, even though we're limited to being within a box, if that makes any sense. And so there's no knock. I mean, it's really up to the creator to decide what they want to do. It's just merely thinking about, if I want to do a conference in Decentraland, well, what would that look like if I had no physics limitations? What would that look like if I had access to the entire planet to go into Decentraland, where half the planet is sleeping right now, the other half is doing a million things right now? How can I leverage each individual person on the planet to experience my conference within a virtual world? Like, what would that look like? And it's not, just deploying within, a Genesis Plaza, putting up a few kiosks to sell some masks, right? That is one function of the conference, but we just got to think beyond that. Like, what would it look like to show up to Decentraland? And Decentraland is the conference, right? Everything that I interact with has some conference functionality.
Yeah, but how do you pull that off as far as getting all the other land hosts involved and like synchronized to deliver like a cohesive experience? You know what I mean?
Well, that's on smaller levels first. You'd have
that's what's going on right now. Well, it's all focused in one localized area, right?
Yeah, but when Decentraland updates, or the DCL team updates Decentraland, we all the developers directly get affected because shit breaks. And so when shit breaks, you got to figure out why it broke. And it's like, oh, it's been the update. So maybe there's like a conference update that all the lands have some conference functionality that would create an incentive for all landowners to participate. And on top of that, the conference has an incentive because now all landowners are participating, you know? So that's like the mental challenge right now is to figure out like, how do we do a metaverse conference if that's what we're trying to attack?
I think also viewing that conference, you can do that by entering the Explorer, but you should be able to do it by just clicking a link on mobile and viewing it. Like maybe you don't have to be in it, but you can view
maybe you don't have to have an avatar necessarily there. Like let's say in mobile, and so it doesn't really support an avatar because it'd be too much. So you know, you can just kind of like be there.
Yeah, it's just a number on the screen, basically.
Yeah.
Because Crypto Voxels, when I checked it out, there was a good 80 to 90 people. It was packed. I'd never seen. You guys went in there as well?
Yeah, I went in there.
Yeah, I dropped in for about 10 minutes.
I was wearing my boot on my face like this.
I had no idea with the wearables that you had to select where to put them. So all my shit was on my head, and I looked like I had like 4 or 5 different things on my head.
I walked in, I said, "Maddie, what's on your head?" And then I went and put my wearables on my same exact thing. You know?
That's when I realized that when you said that. That's when I realized, wait a second, I have to put these t-shirts on my body.
Yeah,
like I have to select that.
Yeah,
it was just funny. But the fact that 80, 90 people were viewing this talk, and I realized it's probably because a lot of these guys are just clicking on their mobile. Because I noticed a lot of these weren't moving as well. So people were just maybe watching it on their mobile phone, jumping in obviously without even a MetaMask. You can engage with it in such an easy way that that's the difference between a meetup that's available to everyone compared to like a Decentraland one where you have to pay mana to join and have a MetaMask.
Two things I noticed about that place. The ability to fly, which I don't know if I want, but I'm just saying that it was a thing. And then they had links. I know they had voice chat, but they had links in their chat. And that was huge. This guy says, "Hey, I'm having some sort of event after this." Threw the link in there. I hit the link. Now I'm at his place, and I'm just kind of walking around. And you know, I didn't stay for long, but I went. You know.
Yeah. But see, something like that would be an issue in the future. Yeah, it's great now, but I think what was cool was that the link that they shared was a land like link. So if Decentraland allow just links to be the whitelisted links just to be land links, so you can just say, "Hey, visit my plot. Here's a plot," as opposed to an external one. That's perfectly fine. I mean, people share where they want to go. You just click and you can go instead of typing in the coordinates and getting everyone confused.
Another thing about that, I guess, if you want to avoid that, you just have a favorites list, and then, you know, if you said, "Hey, check my land out at this," and then you went there, and then you liked what you want, you know, you could put it on your favorites list as far as what kind of lands you like, you know.
So I can see that coming in the next update or future updates.
Yeah, I think that's on the roadmap there on Trello. Is like destination points or something like that for the next column.
Oh yeah.
I think so. I might be confusing that with something else that's on there, but pretty sure.
Can I just
like
quickly go through the topics just so we can put some structure to this instead of jumping around? And then you guys can add if you want to or not, and then we'll start at a topic and talk about that, and then I'll time it for 15 minutes. So that I just want to attempt a bit more of a structure with this, because trying to cut down the other one, and I was just way too hard. There was just stuff.
Yeah, we were jumping around a lot.
Yeah. So let me start. There's 5 or 6 topics that come to mind. I don't know if we're going to go through all of these. There's the LAO that I think Iman brought up, LAO. We can go through that first. There is the foundation that I think August or Decentraland posted recently about their function being an independent body and then them being in control of certain progress parts of Decentraland. There's the NFT wearables and the whitelisting map that was made available to us through Esteban's forum. I don't know if you guys saw that or had a chance to read that. That's a little bit complicated. I didn't really understand exactly how it works. It'd be a really good discussion piece.
Same here.
Yeah. We can talk about the forum itself, and then there's the stats that we just talked about at the start.
Okay.
So
I think we talked about the stats already. Rio, did you want to say your piece on that? If you can.
Installing software for.
Okay.
To try to.
Yeah, I guess we'll save it for the end then. Maybe
yeah,
so you can get them by then.
And I've also got a DCL core down if you guys want to talk about that or not.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So
at the end,
I'm really interested in what Iman found with the Lao. Iman, do you want to go and explain a little bit of it? Like, what's the elevator pitch for the Lao?
Well, by the way, sorry, Iman, it's 8:35 on my phone, so I'm going to put is that okay if you go by timers? Do you reckon we should do that, guys?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we could try. And I guess maybe if we get that timer and we feel like this topic that we're currently discussing deserves more time, we just push through and just
of course.
Yeah.
But just note your time and add 15 minutes to it, and we'll try and give everyone a piece to do that. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why the Lao got my interest, because like what we were talking about before we started recording, is there's a huge issue as far as like how to incentivize developers to want to choose Decentraland as their platform of choice to, apply their skills and their knowledge and create. Like right now, we kind of see it's a voluntary system because like Rio brought up, there's not many sources of monetization yet because the player base is so small. So there's some projects out there currently in the DeFi ecosystem that's kind of focused on that. They want to replicate the whole Silicon Valley atmosphere, meaning traditionally in cryptocurrency space, in order for a project to raise funding for whatever it is they want to do, they launch an ICO, they mint out a batch of tokens, and they distribute them among a group of supporters. So, and I think over the years, the community has kind of like figured out that method isn't so reliable anymore because a lot of those projects, they did not deliver on their promises. A lot of them were just white paper projects, whatever. So now, once I found this article about the Lao, I think Decentraland has a unique opportunity considering we already have a DAO in place. Well, not yet. We're kind of like in the early beginning stages of figuring out as a community how to run this DAO. So part of that is we have to kind of figure out what direction to take as a community, how to manage the funds that already exist within the DAO. Because from my understanding, there's 222 million mana that's going to get funneled through it for the next 10 years. So you don't want to take an approach we're super lackluster as a community as far as how we manage those funds, and we just distribute it to projects that don't generate a return. So the Lao, their main focus is to generate profit for this decentralized autonomous organization.
So how does the Lao work? If you want to
so the Lao works just like a venture capitalist. So what a VC does is they go and raise funds from a bunch of either other funds or really rich people, and so they collect, let's say, billions of dollars, right? And what the VC is supposed to do is they're supposed to vet their investments. They could be focused on growth, they could be focused on startups, they could be focused on one industry or another. It doesn't matter, right? And and the VC's job is to make money for their investors, and that's what the Lao does. The Lao is a VC, but completely decentralized, and the whole world, anyone who has money, can invest their money into the Lao, so that so that each investor into the Lao is itself a decentralized autonomous organization, and so all the investors get to vote on what should get invested. And so then us as creators, we would go and we would draw up a pitch deck, a proposal, and we'd submit it to the Lao. And then at some point, investors who are interested would read it and they would go and vote, say, yes, I want to invest in this. And if enough investors say yes for a particular amount of money, then it's all via smart contracts. All of a sudden, I get $1 million because that's my proposal into my wallet account. And now I can start, building whatever I said I was going to build. And so just think of the Lao being a venture capitalist fund for the world using a decentralized autonomous organization.
So is there anyone that's there to manage that money, or that's the part that's decentralized?
That's the part that's decentralized. So nobody manages the money. It sits there, and the DAO gets the vote on where that money goes.
So there's proposals, and then there's investors. That's
correct.
It.
Yeah, but the way that it's set up is that the investors, I believe it's 120 ETH you buy, and it gives you like 1% back of the total DAO, and then you can buy up to 9% as a company, and then those people that are buying that then have the voting rights, correct? So then that's like, I don't know. I feel like that for me is where stuff kind of gets murky. If you have the same people investing and that are going to be voting on the projects, like I feel like those two should be separate from each other. But I understand the incentive for investors is then to be able to turn around and vote on where your money goes. Like I understand that, but just having those two together, I don't know. It seems a little weird to me.
Are we starting on this conversation about like the voting with mana and land thing? Because oh my god, that is a whole different topic in itself.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, that is
boiling on it.
That's a separate dedicated session, man. But I think right now we're just talking about the Lao.
Yeah, but yeah, what Anorak brings up is a good point. It's like a murky gray area of how the governance structure is actually set up to begin with. In the Lao's sense, it's I guess in Decentraland sense, it's more, I would want it to be more communal, but the problem is for any of these protocols or propositions, it's always in the hands of the wealthy. You know, the whales always have the most control.
Yeah.
And that's something we'd have to decide how to throttle as a community. I don't know how, but I think it's something worth discussion.
I think each person should have one voting right. Like if you're a land owner and a mana owner, you have just separate. That's 50% of the vote. That's 50% of the vote. Each owner, no matter how many lands they've got, you got one voting right because you're one citizen, you're one person. And then I feel like that's more balanced. Or there should be some weight in that kind of formula, as opposed to just giving mana value, because whales at the end of the day will end up controlling these places. That's the structure we're going with.
You know?
Yeah, that's a common theme among like all cryptocurrency projects that I've seen over like the last few years. Whales always end up controlling any kind of a decentralized ecosystem at the end of the day. It happens to Bitcoin. You know, the majority of the hash rate is centralized in China. It's happening to Ethereum. It's happened to EOS. It's happened to Steam. It's happened to everything. So
Steam.
Yeah, Steam.
Man, that was a train wreck, whatever just happened last month or so.
Yeah.
Rio, do you want to check your audio, man? I'm not sure if I can hear you properly when you do speak.
Yeah. What do you want to hear, bro?
Yeah. I can hear you, but you're just a little bit more silent than the rest. Can everyone else hear him? Okay.
Bear with me a second. I'll start off.
That's actually not too bad. It's not too bad. It's just a little bit more distant.
It's quieter for sure.
Quiet. Okay.
But the root point, I guess, for this topic or this discussion is, okay, so we can all recognize that development requires funding, and in the current today's early ecosystem, it's probably not going to come from like organic sources, meaning, you know, revenue generated from the product you've created, you know, up front. So I think if we could figure out how to maximize this DAO and automate it, so this is like a tool that developers have never encountered before in history, where they could propose their project, maybe in certain centralized entity like Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Basically, it's a Kickstarter.
It is.
Within
It's a decentralized Kickstarter.
That's all it is.
Specific for Decentraland projects.
I think it's awesome, man. I think it's a perfect fit for Decentraland as well. It makes perfect sense to be there.
Yeah, and projects like Chainbreakers wouldn't have dissolved if something like this was already set in place. You know, from what I read, the majority reason why they no longer or they're trying to pass on the intellectual property to another team is funding. You know, they ran out of funding. And from everything I read, it sounded like a great project. They had great artwork. They had great intellectual property. That's why they're trying to sell it off. You know, they just could not continue the roadmap progression because outside investors are not interested currently, because there is that dilemma of low daily active users. You know.
I think that's only going to get worse moving forward in today's economy too. I think a lot of these projects that rely on heavy cash flow to be able to work towards return on investments. I think a lot of these companies are going to get shut down here pretty soon because their investors are going to be tight on cash moving forward.
But, like just crypto projects in general, or just
just everything across the board. I mean, just everything. I mean, you can even make an argument that most crypto projects might fare well. Because some of those people might have a little bit deeper pockets or got in lower and they can absorb a hit. And when I say people, I mean investors. But I think there's going to be a lot of companies both in and outside of crypto that are going to struggle to keep getting that cash flow that they've become accustomed to. We're going to see a lot of shutdowns here soon. But Chainbreakers does have land in Sandbox, which is interesting.
Yeah, I saw that.
Can I just fill you in a little bit in on what actually happened with Chainbreakers? So those guys were a really cool team. They traveled the world. They literally pushed their whole product throughout the world, probably more than Decentraland did. Like, we are going to be a Decentraland based game. We're going to build all this on the top of their platform, which is what they're asking us to do as developers, as investors and everything, and we're going to do this. The only issue with that was they got there probably quite a bit too early. There were obviously, I think in these sort of circumstances where people think that they can do things a whole bunch quicker than they can, and then there's obviously issues that are going to pop up. I think there's a whole bunch of managerial teams who didn't really figure that out quick enough, but they just decided to go with it anyway. And that's the way it ended up, in the sense that I think Chainbreakers was planning on Decentraland launching within maybe, I don't know, 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
But it never did. And then they were cash flow short.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what happened. But those guys are talented. We need to keep them in the community.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think I've seen a team go harder at building their own product than Chainbreakers.
Yep.
Yeah. I still have stuff from their pre-sale. I was all in on Chainbreaker stuff. Like everything that we've kind of talked about doing with like the all over the Atlas, kind of the Decentraland Atlas, like the game and venture and go from this plot to that plot and collect this and that. Like that was the whole premise of Chainbreakers. Like you look around the Atlas now, there's still land in estates that are titled Chainbreakers 1, Chainbreakers 2, 3, 4. Like it was all there. Like it was pretty promising, but kind of like Rio mentioned, they were too early. And as Chainbreakers brought up in their article when they released that they were going to be kind of going out of business or selling their rights, whatever you want to call it, they mentioned that Decentraland kept kind of changing the stuff on them, and it was tough for them to stay up to date on everything that was being adjusted, which, I mean, that's just the disadvantage of being a first mover in that case.
There's a few devs that have expressed the same concerns and have been really affected. Spidey Monkey as well came out with that big article. I'm not sure if you guys remember.
What did it say?
Like, that's fair. It's all fair criticism too. I mean,
So I have a comment on the Lao. So when Ayman and I were talking about this, it kind of led to Decentraland in the sense that this what I'm about to say is probably going to elicit another 15 minutes for this particular topic. But I wanted to get.
I have that time, man.
In other words,
right,
go ahead, Will.
I wanted to
talk about it now, or
it kind of ties into it. It kind of ties into it. I wanted to talk about what your guys' opinion on what the DAO's like purpose is in terms of why should the DAO give anybody any mana to create any project? Like, what's the return for the DAO? And because if DAO is just a grant farm for people, and we're granting mana to a bunch of projects that end up not coming to fruition and not launching, the DAO, after 10 years, right, that's why they put the throttle in, because they wanted to prevent someone draining the funds or projects just failing left and right. And so should we propose to implement a mechanism where there's got to be sort of like a business plan put into place where the DAO, the people voting in the DAO agree to fund this project because they believe that they're going to get some return on their investment. So that way the DAO stays replenished even 20 years from now.
Yeah, and there's big community incentive for this DAO to remain healthy, right? If this DAO, like if this end game scenario you're talking about, where all of a sudden the DAO is deplenished and we no longer have community resources to progress,
it could kill Decentraland.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of, like I said, this is going to be if we do it properly and it's a self-sustaining DAO that's generating profit over time and it becomes like this infinite resource for developers to create. That alone is like should be in my mind. I understand what developers like. Developers like that money, you know. I'm not saying they're mainly driven by that, but they like that opportunity to, you know. So if we could figure out how to do it properly, like you said, through like a legitimate business plan where the DAO is always getting like a percentage, I guess, of the revenue of whatever projects they're funding, guaranteed. And we can all do this through smart contracts, basically. This is all something that could be automated to guarantee the DAO always gets back its principal, basically.
At funding. Least the principal.
Yeah.
I do understand the importance of understanding that, but I think something like that can be implemented maybe 1 or 2 years down the line, because at least you have developers that are just going in with funding. And I think developers that show us their portfolios, what they've worked on before, that sort of a vetting process can kind of be used as a filter. But getting developers to come up with a business model, I think you're going to limit the type of creativity you're going to see there. Because some people just want to experiment and build stuff. Some people, not many developers have the right business mindset. They won't even know how to, any developer that can make a return on their investment, a positive return, a profit, they're really good at business. That's not a simple skill to have. And you're not going to find many of them, let alone developers. I think right now the barrier should be kept very slow and low, because we're content starved at the moment. You go into Decentraland, there's pretty much nothing. Anything that brings content, there's value to us more than there is for the developer, as in for Decentraland. So having this set up, it's a 10-year thing. So even if 2 years down the line, if we think that there needs to be more of an incentive, by 2 years, we should have a shit ton more content. And something like this would make a lot more sense. But I do agree with you guys. Ultimately, if you have a self-sustaining, growing, profitable DAO with funds that keeps growing, it's just going to be a different beast altogether.
And my last comment on that, Maddie, is I totally agree. I think it's not necessarily a day one DAO approach, but ultimately what we want to do for end game for the DAO is align the incentives for everybody. So what I mean by that is, if the incentives are aligned for the DAO that they are for the developer, for the landowner, and for the player, you actually create a real economy. And without that incentive in the DAO, if the DAO is just interested in giving mana away to projects, to developers willy-nilly, there's no incentive, really. There's no vetting. There's no nothing. And you could potentially end up with zero.
But it's not going to be willy-nilly, though, because it's going to be voted on by us, right? What gets funding or not.
True. But yeah, true.
No. So I don't think we're going to be approving shitty ideas.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's
really good idea. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that's another discussion. Whenever this DAO thing has to become like a daily discussion, which I think is kind of heading in that direction, especially after Esteban released that forum board and stuff like that. We're going to talk about here pretty soon. Because governance is not something you just kind of like visit once or twice a month and like, just kind of like catch up on. This is like daily. The people who are most engaged and most active with the running of the DAO, it's not some small fish to tackle, is what I'm saying. And we have to figure out the whole process. Should somebody who's not informed, be voting on these big proposals? I don't know. How do we weight the vote? Like, the people who are actively engaged, should they have a higher say in what proposals approval? No. You don't think so?
In a simple answer, no.
Okay.
Maybe what we do is we do what other projects have done is, like, say, for example, let's say the 6 of us are active in Decentraland on a daily basis. Let's make that assumption. maybe the rest of the community, the viewers, go and stake their mana because they believe in what Maddie is saying, or they believe in what Frankie is saying. So Frankie is voting for 10 million mana worth because people have staked that amount of money for his vote, and maybe that's how we should do it.
Yeah, but that's the power of like these different guilds and groups that we're hoping to kind of build here. Is that the idea would be that if you're in a core group with a bunch of people that are like-minded, then your voting power would all be together. So hopefully you would be able to outweigh some of those whales and stuff.
That's true.
But I understand what you guys are saying. I mean, we're literally like redoing government. Like everything is totally being redone with the DAO and stuff like that. So it's not.
But imagine in real life if your governing power was based on how much money you had in the bank. Wouldn't it be?
It is though. Like it is. Like that's exactly what happens with these super PACs and stuff in the US is that they just like when they're running for primaries, I mean, look at Hillary Clinton versus Bernie Sanders in 2016. Like Bernie Sanders was winning popular votes, but Hillary Clinton was winning the Democratic.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if we wasn't voting for money, then the same motherfuckers wouldn't show up every single year. Okay? But every single year, the same dudes like, oh yeah.
But
I
that's
think
kind of
the DAO is a work in progress, and this governance structure is a work in progress. So whatever we implement now, we're not going to get it right straight away.
It's going to have to be.
We're going to keep changing it. It's.
I also think that like the current political like situation, we shouldn't structure ourselves on that. I think that's a terrible like sort of lead to take. We could totally start from fresh here. You know, like don't follow those guys. Like they can do what they want. We can do. Yeah. We can start afresh here. We have a whole different opportunity with a whole different world that we're building in a whole different land with nobody to tell us what to do. We can literally do it as democratically or however we want as a community.
That's true.
I don't think that's ever existed ever.
Agreed.
No. I agree there. I think that what you're going to find is that everyone's opinion as to what the voting structure should be is going to be different.
Yeah.
What to add, what not to add, how much weight to give to land, whether you should add landowners, this, that, wearable owners, name owners, blah, blah, blah. There's so many things you can take into account. So it's going to be this evolving thing. Right now, I think there just needs to be a simple governance structure more than just mana holders. I think the land and mana is a good start. And then from there, I'm sure we're going to keep making it better.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was interesting. I kind of liked.
Cool.
I liked everybody's thought on that because it's important. If we don't do this, if we don't have the same kind of aligned thinking for the DAO, it could cause some problems. But I think the fact that it's being throttled over 10 years, it kind of mitigates any like catastrophe early on. So I think we're on the good path.
10 years, Decentraland is going to look completely different if it still exists, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more momentum than now, but it's going to be completely different if we get there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, boys. Do you want to jump on to the next topic?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we've got the foundation. Ooh.
Which one?
So, yeah, what's the context between
What is the foundation?
I don't know.
Who's the Capitan?
I'm reading it right now.
The foundation.
So it was like a pretty big article. I'm not sure if you guys read the whole thing or understood and digested it all. But I think it's a new group that's in charge of bringing the DAO into fruition. And let me just quickly read it and skim through it.
Yeah, so...
Well, who is it, Matty? Who is it?
We don't know.
Well,
don't know who it is.
The head of the foundation is Augustine, right?
Augustine, right? That's what I was going to say, too.
Yeah.
Is that the foundation or is that the...
Well, I don't know if he's bringing it into existence or he is...
No, he is the head. He is the head.
Yeah.
He mentioned it in one of the public chats earlier today.
He did. So he's the head of the foundation, and he is not controlled or governed by the DCL team. He is advised by the DCL team, just like we could advise him too.
So I wonder if not Augustine, who would have been, I guess, someone that doesn't work for Decentraland or someone that could have led this, a community member or a group of community?
That's a good question. Like, how do you become part of the foundation?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want anyone from outside of Decentraland to be running something that determines what goes on inside of Decentraland. I like the idea of it being someone within the project. I understand there being concerns if there's someone that's too closely related to like the inner workings of the team to push their agenda over like the betterment of the community. But I think it has to be someone who has ties to the team. Like you got to kind of go stride for stride with what's going on. You can't just be going independent of the team's goals.
I totally agree. There has to be at least one representative of the team in the foundation, right?
Yeah, the team at least one.
Yeah, at least one, and then who do you add? Like, I guess community members that are active in Decentraland. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, really.
I think also now might be a good time to maybe explain who Augustine is to those who are watching on pre-recorded, and
it's true,
and all that sort of thing. Yeah,
he's a new name that we're kind of like just bringing up. He's a new member, right, Maddie? You discovered him first. You had a conversation with him.
I'm not sure exactly what his role is, but all I know he's in charge of bringing the DAO into existence and engaging with the community and bringing more of a community feedback loop process to the direction of Decentraland. And he's also in charge of, I think, making more events and kind of making the whole social atmosphere of Decentraland a lot more catered to the community. Fill in the gaps that we've seen in the past. And I think he's reached out to me. I talk to him regularly. With the forum now as well, I think we're heading in the right direction. At the last week or two, I've seen a lot more different side of Decentraland, a lot more favorable side in that sense. But I haven't known him for a long time to understand what else he has to offer. But, filling in that gap for me is a big deal.
It would probably be a good time let's schedule him to come on and have a conversation with us. And I promise we won't grill you, Augustine. We'll be extremely nice. But it's important for us to like get to know him and like get to like what's his purpose here and what's his goal. Because
I
obviously
think the foundation should have some sort of connection with the community. Like if this is what it is,
absolutely.
If we can make it these Zoom calls or multiple Zoom calls where community members get together and put proposals forward or something.
Yeah.
But there needs to be some sort of like they have the Decentraland team advising them. They also need us advising them on what we want.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
And it almost feels like the foundation sounds like the beginning of the governing board of the DAO is what it sounds like it's going to turn into. So there probably should be some type of
like an evil villain character. Like, the foundation, you're like locked down.
Like where all the super villains hang out.
Yeah,
Plan the end of the world. Maybe.
It reminds me of I don't know if you guys watch Naruto or like any of those animes, but there's like this dark team called the Foundation. It just reminds me of that.
Oh, really?
It's like this evil team.
Oh, jeez.
It has that feel to it, like black building.
Is it the name or what?
Yeah, it's just
the called Foundation.
The Foundation.
What should it be called? Like the Cool Kids Club or something? Like something a little friendlier?
Something between the Cool Kids Club and the Foundation.
I agree. Maybe it is a name thing.
But I'm trying to pull out the announcement, but I can't freaking find it.
Dude, that's the other thing I was going to say. Are they going to add like the calendar and the forum and stuff to the Decentraland homepage?
Yeah, they need to do that.
There's like no links to like the calendar or anything from the homepage.
They hit me up about the party to like do the thing. I didn't know where to. I never knew.
Unless you already like searched it or clicked on the initial link that was posted in the Discord, like you're not gonna know where to go. Like I spent damn near 5-10 minutes trying to find that forum page that Maddie's talking about. That was
the forum's a new thing that was literally set up the day before I sent it to you.
But it's it's a public page now.
It's public,
so it should be like somewhere for the public to find it and not buried in the Discord.
Yeah.
Which it's probably in the plans to put it up. I'm just being.
They have website redesign in the roadmap.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I found the article, Maddie. I'll post it in the chat here.
Thanks, man.
Which that events page is awesome, I think. Like it's pretty user friendly. It's all the information's right there, and you can see all the other events. You can RSVP to something. So
yeah, it's great.
Like if you're out there watching it and you're attending these events, like please go RSVP so that like we have an idea of like who's coming. And then the other thing it does is if you're on that website and you're just kind of passing by, if you see an event that has 55 people RSVP'd for it, maybe you're more likely to check it out, whether there's 17 people that are RSVP'd. Like, if you're going to take the time out of your day to go to one of these events, just take the extra 45 seconds to go click on RSVP for it and check out the calendar page, because I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
I
totally
agree. Yeah, I'm finally starting to like this mask event was the first time I felt like an actual sense of immersion in Decentraland. I was talking to Will about that yesterday. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the music blasting in that convention center, or I don't know. I was like, naturally people were just chit-chatting to each other while they were all browsing these masks and stuff. It felt like I was in an actual metaverse.
And
you guys pulled me out of bed in a panic for that event. I woke up and everyone's blowing that up on Discord, and it was like 6 a.m. for me. And I didn't think the event was supposed to start until later. Y'all were posting pictures of people there. There's like 15, 20 people there, and I didn't know how many masks there were. And I was like, oh shit, ran downstairs and got my computer and everything. But like, now we find out there's like 1,000. I went back to sleep and everything. But no, I know what you're saying. The live music was great. I felt like there was a lot of people that were in there that don't usually come to all the stuff, which was awesome. And there was some of the admins that were in there. Like, obviously Sam, Toonpunk was in there, and Nico was in there. Like, it's a pretty nice little crowd, and everyone kind of buzzing around and doing their own stuff.
I agree.
I talked to new people in there, so it's always a plus for me. Any place I find a new person, I'm like, I like that. That's good.
We also
just
visited
Crypto Valley in general was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
it was.
That whole area is sweet.
I know like KJ had like some sort of crazy model there. Did you see that with the cat and the little?
Oh yeah, I did. The crypto kitty cat.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I saw that.
I had no idea what that was.
It was right outside. You saw it, man.
I did.
Yeah,
outside of the front doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Crypto Valley, just outside in the corner.
Okay, cool.
Okay. But so Toonpunk manages Crypto Valley, and I think he's got some of the devs on board as well to help him build it out. And the proposal of it is to build a virtual Silicon Valley, have conferences, meetings, have businesses come and discuss their ideas, like a Shark Tank type thing. It's pretty cool.
Like that was one of the districts that they were pushing back in like 2017. Was like that crypto Silicon Valley stuff. It's pretty cool to actually see it come to fruition now.
Yeah,
sounds like the perfect place for the Decentraland Lao. Like you just called it a Shark Tank. That's the perfect pitching location right there.
Exactly. So what do we need to develop, like as a community, in order to make that a reality? What fundamentals do we need?
Shark Tank.
I have a lot of ideas in my head, just because like in order to make that sustain, I think it requires even additional like DeFi elements. I don't want to go too deep into that right now. Maybe since we're all
go for it, boy. Go.
No. I'd rather put it on paper first to gather my thoughts, not sound like a total retard, like just throwing some shit out. Like, I don't even know. I have to do my own due diligence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it sounds promising though, whatever you've told us so far, and I think it's a good fit.
Yeah, I think it's the start, just like if we could all kind of like align in that direction, Yeah, it's going to require some a lot of development, and like I said, that's not, like Will keeps emphasizing, that is an expensive thing.
Yeah,
I think another side byproduct of that is it's going to bring investors outside of Decentraland to Decentraland products as well. Because
I agree,
people outside in the NFT space, if they can invest in Decentraland products and games, then that brings a whole new layer to this, a whole new user base. People interested in Decentraland, like I'm an investor to Decentraland, and that motivates me to build the product that I have because I've got money involved in the success of this project. So if there's more people like me, then I'm sure they'll be more motivated to talk about it, bring more users, etc.
Totally.
They could sell land for 1.37 million mana. I think they'd be pretty interested in it. Congrats on that sale, by the way.
Maddie's confirmed well status for sure.
I woke up at about 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and I saw it was a land that sold, but it was the one under me, which was 1.3 million. So I was like excited, and I was like, "Oh, damn, it's not mine." I went back to sleep.
You even said in the chat, "You're like, hey, Whale, please buy my land. It's right above this one," or something.
Then I went back to sleep.
And then you woke up to like probably 25 Discord notifications and figured something went down.
And that's always good to cash back up, because land's a risk, man. Especially these larger estates.
Yeah, it is.
The only people that buy larger estates are whales that believe in the project a lot more than just entry level, 15,000 mana entry level. So when I purchase these estates, I have no choice to buy them at a very low price because I have to hold them for a very long time. Or Decentraland has to become a platform that larger people that want to build things find attractive to spend 50K on a freaking land.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to do that in the NFT space right now in this climate?
Yeah.
So I've got pretty big estates, and it's risky being in that sort of play because you can't sell them as they're not as liquid. But anyway, it's good to have a bit more money.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Must be nice, dude.
It was pretty interesting that it came the morning of the Binance stuff too.
Yeah,
I posted in the chat. I was like, reckless speculation on my part. Like someone from Binance just scooped this land up. But no, that was cool. It was nice to get that volume in because I was hearing from a lot of people that whole week about how low Decentraland's volume was on OpenSea and that we were getting crushed. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be like people aren't going to buy tens of thousands of dollars of land every single week. It's not just like, I hope they don't. I hope people are buying and holding. I hope they're not flipping. Like,
I hope they're buying and building on it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's always been my thing is like, a lot of times, I know when I bought my land in the beginning, I bought it, didn't know exactly what to do with it. I probably would have flipped it if somebody would give me the right amount of money, but I didn't. And then I held it, and then I decided, well, I want to build on it,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so pretty soon we're about to all party on it too, right?
Hell yeah.
A couple minutes, I'm going to be deploying it.
Hey, whose music is that, Frankie? Yeah. Whose music is that? Is that yours?
Well, the music.
On music that plays in your plot.
So right now, I'm thinking about streaming. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all. But
no, because it was like badass, dude.
The Jay-Z stuff.
So I don't know. I had my music playing in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I had like a mix playing or whatever, like an MP3, a long mix, and then now I'm able to stream audio, like live streams, and then tonight I'm just gonna put a mix on there that I put together.
Nice.
Yeah. Bro, that live stream's so nice because when you had the mix on there initially, if you would step off the land and then come back, it would start from the beginning. Yeah. So then you have to listen to the whole thing over again. Yep. So like if I'm messing around on your land and I listen to this entire Jay-Z song, then if I step off for a second and come back on, I got to listen to it all again. Like now the live audio is so much better because it's just like a continuation of everything.
Yeah. The way it works with the
for other reasons too.
So the way it works with the MP3s, right? Like if I have like an MP3 that's just hosted, that's what's going to be tonight. If you leave and come back, you'll be exactly where you left off. With live radio, it is literally live radio. It's up to the second. Yeah. So I'm going to figure out live radio as far as myself, but we'll figure that out soon enough.
Hey Frankie, do you ever envision yourself doing like? I know you have a past of being like you're an actual artist and musician. Do you have any visions of yourself performing in Decentraland? Are
you gonna drop some bars, dude?
Go to the radio station before I start performing anything. I'm at that point in my life. I want to be the program director, man. I don't need more.
I got you.
Post a link to your SoundCloud.
Maybe we can have a little talk about this now. So, how far are we actually away from getting to this point whereby Frankie or whoever do their own thing in Decentraland, like make it their thing and start attracting people? Are we far away from there? Are we ready for that? Should we hold back? Where are
for a music set?
Yeah, basically.
So Rosa was talking in her live set today.
Really get a live broadcast up. That would be almost, we could do that all the time. And I think that's really like my next week's project is all about live stream. For sure.
So when you say live stream, actually, like if I can just talk in that live stream, that's going to be projected straight to Decentraland.
Yeah,
live.
DJ Rosa was doing at the conference center little meetup that they do every Saturday and Sunday. She was like putting on a song and then she'd come over to the mic. She's like, "Dance, everyone, dance! I want to see you dance." Yeah. And the first time it happened, it was like, "Whoa, what the hell was that?" Like, was that time? But then, because I'd never heard her voice before, I didn't know what that was. But no, it's cool because real, like you're saying, like how far away are we from someone being able to be creative and mix and master their own set? And I think we're pretty damn close.
So literally within the next week, we can have a full.
By next week, I'll be blown. My mind will be blown.
Yeah. So we can have a 24/7 radio station with people in order to talk to live.
I'd be blown away.
That's cool. Yeah, I remember watching like an MTV. I don't know if y'all remember that. It was called like True Life.
Yeah.
And they had an episode about Second Life, and it was like a woman, like she was like a musician, a struggling musician in Seattle. Yeah. But in Second Life, she was like a god. She was a superstar. Yeah. And she was, like they would have like thousands of people show up to her concerts in Second Life, and it would be a paid event, and she was making money doing that, and she had fame and glory. So that is something.
One thing I want to start sometime soon. I'll probably do one with all of you guys at some point, but I want to do Decentraland only interviews now that I know how to work the audio. So it would be like a podcast, like something short that you would do, and it would just come out on my parcel or on anybody's parcel that knew how to broadcast said. I think there's a lot to do with the audio, man, and I'm going to be all over that. Like that's definitely mine.
That's your domain.
I claim it now, man. Just claim it.
Yeah.
It's RB.
That's mine.
Cool. I love the idea of like the whole like block runner, like sort of setting up like a little meta for a radio box, and you can put it on your.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I would love, then we can just put that right into the channel.
That would be sick.
That's awesome, man. So if that's on my land, I can hear like if someone's creating a live radio station and they're just interviewing people or whatever, then I buy that audio box and switch into that radio station.
Hell yeah.
That can play. You know what would be really cool too? I just thought about it. But like once they allow video streaming, then you can have TV channels. So you can have TVs in your land and you're just viewing, you switch the channel and you're seeing me interview
you could have
Anorak.
The other things you could have like exclusive to Decentraland. And I've been thinking about this idea exclusive to Decentraland, the audio and video, and that's almost like making a subscription system already.
Yeah.
When somebody has to log into Decentraland in order to watch this video or hear this audio, whatever it may be, that's like Sirius XM radio at that point,
Yeah.
Not that they are paying a subscription, but they're gonna pay something if they're spending that much time in there,
Yeah. See, those are the types of new projects that we need to see with these new features added.
You know what? This functionality is capable because we asked Decentraland to do it. And it's obviously COVID inspired too, because we kind of need audio functionality within Decentraland. But man, this is available because we were asking Decentraland the team to build this, and now we can come up with all crazy stuff with it. That's the value of the SDK, man. Like that's why you want to do this.
Yeah,
I mean, like, okay, I woke up that morning or whatever about the when they made the mask. I go over there, I go get a mask. I'm hanging out. Somebody mentions that it's live. Now I had been messing with the streaming coding the prior couple of days, and I had figured out how to do not live, but I couldn't figure out live. And once I figured out that it was possible, I didn't care that I didn't know. I wouldn't figure it out. It took me like 25 minutes. Once I figured out it was possible, I was like, it's possible. I got to figure this out.
Yeah, exactly.
They did a really good job with the COVID thing, like the whole convention center and like the whole way it was all presented and the ease of being able to buy those things if you want to
with Ethereum,
and they put it on the wall. It was amazing.
Yes. The wall thing was amazing as well. Like you could see in lifetime how much everyone's contributing as a community.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I was literally standing there for like a couple hours just listening to the music and just watching the ticker go up like that.
Yeah.
That's the immersion I'm talking. That was enough for me to just stay in Decentraland. I was actually having fun.
You know what would be cool as well? Like pre-sale events. So NFT pre-sale events with the same structure. When you invest, you can see how much collectively it's done on a screen like that. You can see your name under what you've purchased, and you can buy the loot boxes or the eggs or whatever you're investing in through those.
Hell yeah.
Those whatever those. Things were.
Those display cases. Yeah,
those display cases. So that whole structure is actually a really good setup for an NFT or a game pre-sale within Decentraland, like chain breakers. Imagine if you had spinning swords and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
And set it up in Central Plaza. Why not? Just there it is. That's where you start. You can have a little look what's going on, and if not,
maybe we should reach out to Toonpunk.
I'm on the same wavelength, man.
Yeah, because
Same
it sounds.
wavelength.
I think that was like the big. Everyone loves that display case, and it'd be a travesty just to like.
Yeah, and
we're
gonna use it. We're gonna use it pretty soon too. I mean, so like we're gonna need that functionality.
Yeah, so it'd be cool. Hopefully they bring it on board.
So we were talking about the foundation, Maddie.
Foundation.
Oh yeah.
So I found a few sentences that pretty much sums up the foundation. I'm just going to read it so we're all on the same page.
Okay.
The foundation is an independent body, free of control from the original founding team of Decentraland. The foundation will hold property rights over Decentraland's intellectual property, trademarks, web domains, open source repositories, and social media accounts, among other assets which the DAO, lacking formal legal status, cannot hold. So let's just kind of break that sentence first before I jump onto the others. So the foundation holds property rights over social media accounts. How does that work?
Well, my first question is, who is the foundation, and will we ever know who makes up the foundation?
Well, we should. Yeah. So first it's Augustine, and then we have the question to him is, how do we get more people on the foundation if that's the purpose?
Yeah, it's got to be more than just him on it, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
But it seems like the Decentraland team did all the picking though, which I mean, in the beginning, I guess like it's okay because there's not a big enough community yet to kind of like set up campaigns for individual, members from the community. But yeah, traditionally, if there's some kind of decentralized governance structure, whoever wants to get involved in it has to literally campaign themselves, similar to how a politician does it, and get elected from the community to become a part of that organization.
It's true.
I think the thing about Decentraland is it started as a central body and is transitioning to a decentralized body. It wasn't initially set up decentralized. So there's this shift process that we just have faith in at the moment, and hopefully it's going to move in the right direction. But it seems like it's going to be centralized at the start. And
just like us, just like Bitcoin, it was centralized until other people started mining it, and then it became more decentralized. But what I understand from that line you read, Maddie, was that the foundation controls the assets that that Decentraland has, like the Twitter, like the IP, like the branding, all that stuff. And so, like a use case of the foundation is maybe there's a feed that the community sends to this foundation and say, hey, can you retweet my project? Can you retweet my event that's coming up next week? Or maybe that's the functionality of the foundation, at least from the Twitter perspective.
They seem more active on social media this week.
Yeah, right.
Just by my accounts. I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but I mean, they were retweeting a lot of stuff that I don't think they normally would in the past.
Here we go. This sums up the foundation. Equipped with these tools, the foundation will be able to independently cooperate with the DAO in executing its marketing, community management, support, and product objectives.
Yep.
Marketing, community management, support. Okay.
Is it almost just like a legal team, like for their copyrights and trademarks and stuff like that too? Because didn't they mention a lot of that, like that they were going to start applying for a lot of that stuff, like for their logo and things. I remember reading it. I can't remember the exact way it was summed up though. The foundation will hold property rights over Decentraland's intellectual property, trademarks, web domains, open source, all that stuff that you were just kind of reading off there, Maddie. So do they already have those property rights, or is the foundation in charge of going out and obtaining those?
That's a good question.
Because that's a whole different job, like marketing as opposed to like almost like a legal team.
Yeah,
for like your public thing.
That wouldn't really concern the community, would it? Like that, they wouldn't have to consult the community on those things.
I mean, they shouldn't have to consult the community over their own likeliness, but I mean, I have the name like DCL Anorak for the thing. Like, is DCL now like gonna be considered like under trademark from Decentraland? Like that's the extent that.
No, I think DCL, Decentraland, the logo is going to be owned by the community, so anybody can use anything.
Yeah, that's a copyright though. like the trademark is like the names and phrasing and words and stuff like that, which if they're already been bought and all that stuff, then it's no issue. I'm just wondering how far they're going to extend that, because I found it interesting. That's the first time I've ever seen them mention copyright or trademark stuff. So I'm wondering like where it goes from here, basically.
Yeah, it's
like, I'm not concerned they're going to strip my name from me. I'm just wondering like how far they're going to take that.
It's a really strange thing. So from what I can gather, after having spoken to many people from the community, you guys, and many other people included, I think Decentraland are moving away towards being more decentralized, like where they were initially heading towards. And I think there's been a few cases that have also popped up. I'm not going to like name them by name, but there's obviously like the whole sort of gambling thing, which is a massive deal in many countries because the whole like sort of jurisdiction and how it works and how it's gonna like play out and what is legal and what isn't in each individual country is different. I think what they're trying to do right now, and it's a really smart idea in my eyes, is to just stick it all on nodes. Let's decentralize this now, then nobody can stop this. Which is why we all got invested in the first place. Sure. I don't know about you guys, but I got invested in this because nobody can stop it once it gets decentralized. And I guess we've made major steps by having it hosted on nodes right now into the point whereby nobody can stop it. And this is the freedom of, I don't know, guys. What do you think?
So you're saying that by them doing all of the copyright trademark stuff is an effort to separate them from the rest of the community in a good way, to try and let us have free reign over their product and they don't have to be worried about the legal repercussions? Is that kind of what you're saying there, Rio?
In a sense, but I also, in a sense, it also it also acts as a form to for them to be free of any persecution from any government or anything like this. So, like, basically, we don't own this. It's free. The people own this. So go find them. Good luck, boy.
Yeah.
It's another.
Yeah, we don't control it. They put it there.
That's the whole idea why I got in this in the first place. Like, let us run. Let us do what we want to do.
Legally, this is a big deal because if there's ever activity happening on Decentraland that is considered nefarious or terrorism or anything like that, there has to be no legal accountability for the activity taking place on the platform. Because it's not just because you build a car and somebody uses it to run over people, it doesn't mean you're responsible. And it's the same case for Decentraland. But there needs to be some mechanism, some technical mechanism to kind of govern that. Like if you don't want to see like nefarious content, pictures, videos of a specific kind, there's got to be some technical way to prevent that from showing up on your browser or your client or whatever. So that needs some serious consideration.
I also think now would be a really cool time for all of us to say and do a high five, in the sense that none of us agree with any of this. We're not related to this. We don't run this. We don't own this. We're all just sort of a part of this community.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not CEOs. We're just like investors. Or
just own Mana Man.
Centralized, you know.
Might delete my blog after this.
Yeah, I might just stop the video now.
Yeah.
Slowly disappear. But I think I'm kind of understanding the foundation a little bit more. I think it's their effort to separate themselves from what they are at the moment.
The team needs to be no different than us on the call. They have to be no different.
That's why it's called the foundation, I guess.
Right.
It's like,
and the foundation is really they leverage the team's properties, right? The logo, the Twitter account, the ability to update the SDK. You know, so
yeah. But they're going to be eventually an external body to Decentraland, just like how we all are.
Correct.
That can contribute in their own unique way.
Correct.
So yeah, okay. I see the need for the foundation to exist.
Kind of like how Ethereum has their own foundation, right? The Ethereum Foundation.
That's right.
Similar to that.
Yeah, I think Decentraland is modeling a lot of their stuff on Ethereum. So the structure of that is, you're going to probably find parallels. So yeah, okay. Now it kind of makes a little bit more sense what the foundation is.
Definitely. You guys hear about, I guess it's super off topic, but Reddit is putting their tipping system out on, like, as an ERC20 coin.
Are they?
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, their own ERC20 coin? No.
Yeah. It's, I forget what it's called. I was watching Altcoin Daily minutes before I came on here.
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's literally called Reddit coin. I think that's what I saw.
Dude, I'd invest in that. If you can.
Yeah.
If it's stable or not, but
because how is it right now? It operates off of like gold, silver, right? Something like that. They just give each other
awards and
just fake,
it's just digital
currencies.
Yeah, fake currency.
Yeah. Does that have value though? Because I see people being like, "Oh, thanks for the gold."
The value is in the fact that you can send it to somebody, and that's it. There's no monetary value.
It's just e-glory, internet glory. That's all it is. The more karma or gold you have, like, I don't know, like the higher esteem you have within the community.
That's
like
right.
your opinion matters more, essentially.
But it works really well at the moment.
It's like wearables.
Yeah. Exactly.
Made this whole system that made you more influential within that thread or something like that, you know?
Yeah. You're more likely to get upvoted and stuff like that if they check out your profile. It's like, this guy is a reputable guy. It's like, I'm going to upvote his stuff, you know?
But I think what they have now works really well. I don't know if I would take that step as a CEO to add a functionality where you can invest and buy these gold coins.
Well, maybe because there's a lot of platforms being created now that are kind of competing against Reddit, but where the content creators actually can get monetary compensation. Yeah, so maybe they think it's an actual legitimate threat, so they have to adapt, kind of. Yeah. Which is good. This is good for mass adoption, right? This is really good.
That's huge news.
That means crypto.
It's good for Ethereum.
Hey, the next level, they start working around in NFTs too. You know, like if they got an ERC20 coin, then they're not very far away from an ERC 721 token.
You're right. Totally.
Yeah. It's always the next step.
100%, man.
Gateway
this is
drug.
how you do it.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 19 minutes left for the 90-minute mark.
So we've gone through the foundation, which is pretty good. Some progress. You guys want to talk about the Wearables Map that came out? I'm not sure if all of you have seen that.
I didn't read through it.
Mm-hmm. The Wearables what?
I felt like there's a lot of, like the flow chart for how a wearable gets introduced to the marketplace.
Yeah, I saw that on the forum. Yeah.
It seemed like, I don't know if it was just my issue. I had trouble following it, but it seemed like there was some information missing from it. Like every time I felt
it's not finished. It's not finished.
Okay, that makes sense.
How about we just break down the advantages and disadvantages of leaving it out to an open market? Let everybody design what they want to do, and this, that, and the other, or make people earn the right to be able to create a wearable, or just do it to a license, which I don't know. Like, what are you guys?
What I'll do is I'll just go through the flowchart really quickly, the structure of it, and you guys can just pick it apart and say if the license, because I think the license thing is in this right now. So it's kind of like you can design the wearables, then you have to submit it to someone who has a collection. But in order to get that collection, oh, that's pretty cool. But in order to get a collection, you need to stake some mana. So it's like,
can you guys see
apparently
that?
This is similar to Second Life. I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, they used an example of like staking 1,000 mana. And, like, you have to stake that to be able to get like the license for it or whatever. Frankie, you should speak on this a little bit because we had a pretty extensive conversation earlier in the week, and then it just so happened that this stuff came out where you were talking about permits and stuff.
Yeah, they had reached out to me and we had a conversation, and then they said that they had things like that already implemented. So I think that was already a conversation that they were having, and just it was like coinciding information, you know, like all the community's talking about it. All right, that makes sense that we have it in there, you know. So it wasn't like they just took my, you know.
First of all, I think it's important to clarify that this is a work in progress. Yeah. This is just this map that you see is definitely not the final thing.
Yeah.
This is Esteban made this public so that we can pick it apart, and he literally asked for us to pick it apart.
Yeah, we should. That should kind of like be part of.
Let's break it down. What is it?
Let's break it down. Let's understand this thing.
Now. Let's pick it apart right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are we?
Designer starts here. I'm on the top left.
Okay. Who's the designer? Like anybody?
It's Frankie.
Frankie's the designer.
All right, yeah.
He's making some sick kicks.
I got chains.
Hell yeah.
Bring that bling.
Jewelry, man. Okay.
Will, you're killing me with this
Can you see that
screen? Okay, here we go.
All right, so designer starts here. We got Blender, and we got a designer fills in the wearable JSON definition.
Yeah, that's all the parameters. Yep.
The parameter of the wearable.
What makes it go with your guy or whatever, you know.
Okay, so designer tests it on the Explorer. If it looks good, automated validation, texture size, and then automated validation, texture count, vertex count. So this is the poly count limitation, correct?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then the texture size is what the
look
of it.
Shirt looks right. The images on your shirt.
Correct. So
these splits don't necessarily mean like these are separate routes, right? It's just
I guess
it's like make sure
different
both
parameters
are right, and then you go to
A
the
and B.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that needs to be more clear because this looks like you could take this path or you could take this other path.
Yeah, like forks in the road, right?
Yeah. So there's an actual.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think what they're saying is that these happen concurrently.
No, they do.
Yeah,
They do. But
yeah.
there's a technical way to represent that they go concurrently.
Okay.
Right. When
Put the box up top right there.
Yeah, like something exactly like something like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I mean these are just like nitpicks for now, but that means this is technically viable, and then submit the series to a collection, and then designer pays mana to curator. Curator decides to include the series into their collection.
All right, hold on. Before we even start there, all right, we've gotten this far. Let's start at curator now. Curator starts here.
Okay, curator.
So curator would be like Maddie, right? Someone who has a reputation, who has wearables and kind of knows what they're talking about in DCO. Okay. They're kind of like the handler for the creator and like into the marketplace. They're like the middleman, right?
Like the record label.
Okay. The record label. Okay.
Okay.
Curator stakes mana, starts vote on DAO to create a collection.
That makes sense.
So is this collection made by me, or is it a collection of people that have sent stuff to me?
I think it's
here's my guess. Is my thought on this is like, okay, I'm a curator. I'm buying a collection. Would be a mythic, a legendary. You know, it would be a whole group of collectibles that you can put out. Say you're gonna put an outfit or whatever, and then you take the submissions from the people who are designers.
Mm-hmm. But wouldn't multiple collections just have the same stuff in it?
I mean, you can do a collection based on anything. So you could have a collection based on this year. You know?
Yeah.
This is where the process loses me.
Yeah, is a collection a wearable that has 10 mythics? Like if you do a mythic, there's 10 of them. Is that considered those 10 considered a collection?
No, my guess a collection would be like multiple, a mythic, a legendary, a couple of different epic packs or something like that you're gonna have like a collection. So like, you have the ability to make an outfit.
Okay.
You know, that goes together.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A theme.
I think the collection I think is how if you look at your wearables on Etherscan or on OpenSea and it says like community contest, Decentraland, Halloween giveaway, Christmas. I think that's what the collection is. Yeah, so like where those wearables are being produced.
Category,
for.
basically.
More common, so you see way more collections coming about. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is where the process kind of loses me. Is where you have what seems like a pre-sale before it gets voted on via the DAO for if it gets released. So like it says here in the, it's off screen right now, but it says in this example, online. It says Lizzie keeps editions number 1 through number 10 for herself and her friends from the Art Collective. Yes. And then she goes to market and she sells 30 out of the remaining 90 issuance allocation on the market. But all this like sales and everything like that and deciding what you want to keep, what you want to sell and everything is going on before it gets voted on by the DAO. Which that's what I can't understand is why are people able to buy this stuff before it's voted to put it onto the marketplace?
Are you sure?
Do you know what the process loses me? Is whereby we haven't got anybody from Decentraland to explain this to us in 30 seconds and we're done. We wouldn't be having to have like a 30-minute conversation about
that's
this.
That's why I'm trying to recreate this video.
30 seconds telling us how the fuck it's done.
So they can just,
Well, this is actually their internal communications that they've just made public. So they probably understand it really well. Oh. And they've just made this public.
Yeah, well, tell us then, because we're also part of this journey.
Yeah. This is just the internal threads and stuff.
Last week, we didn't have nothing like this right here.
Isn't it crazy how much they've put this stuff up since like January? When like we heard nothing going into the launch. And now we have all this stuff coming out. Like this week, maybe even bleeding into last week. Like, we've got so much information that I don't think we've ever had access to in the past.
Imagine if we didn't have this. Imagine if we still didn't know any of the updates that were coming up.
We'd still be complaining in the channels about, what about wearables? Who's allowed to put them out? Who's not? Blah, blah, blah. Like, wasting our time.
Like, if you looked at it in like a lifespan, we're getting old. Okay, let's say we're at that age in a child's life where you're always just knocking shit off the table and shit. They just got their arm and leg movements and shit, so they can just do everything. Like we're trying to get to that point. We don't have our motor skills yet. So once you get your motor skills, then you can kind of figure out what you want to do with them.
100%.
I think it was because of the podcast that we're having them to issue their transparencies.
You put pressure on them by putting no media on it, for sure. I mean, that's what media is for.
Yeah.
And media is to be necessary. I plan on being in the media. I plan on seeing you guys in the media.
You see, there you go. But no, I mean, I see Rio's point. I think.
So what's the process now? Like, since Rio just agrees, now Rio has to vote. That this shouldn't be how the DAO authorizes this wearable minting process?
I think first we need to understand this process, and once we understand it, then we can comment it.
Yeah, keep running it through. I kind of derailed us there for a second, but let's pick this up from Curator Stakes Mana.
Let's see if we're on the same page.
No, that's my fault. Yeah.
Designers come together, create stuff. A curator comes and says, all right, well, submit your designs to me. I'll put that collection together and put it towards the DAO. The DAO now sees this collection of like 10 to 15 different items that the curator has put together, but different designers have designed them. And then if the DAO approves that, I think that's when it gets distributed for sale and stuff.
So what is DAR?
I have no idea. I was going to ask that question.
Mana holders can vote new collection creation. Mana holders can vote collection to be disabled from DAR.
I think that could be explained further down the article. Let me see.
I think that might be what Anorak is talking about in this next.
And then curator has a new collection. After the vote is in, collection contract created and added to DAR. So this submit
decentralized something.
Designer pays mana to curator. Curator decides to include the series into the collection. So here's the collection. Curator has a new collection. Collection contract created, added to the DAR. And then wearables get included. Designer can emit wearables to the marketplace. Yeah, this isn't very clear. This isn't very clear.
I think if you scroll down, they explain it with this story. Like there's paragraphs of the story and screenshots of the flowchart pieces that they're talking about. I think that'll be better. So we know what the designer process is. And if you guys scroll down, I'm reading the curator bit, the hurdles of being a curator. So Dior is someone else, as always.
So Dior is Maddie. Maddie's a renowned curator in Decentraland.
Yeah.
Thinks the shoes will be perfect for his collection and accepts the bid to include them. Of course, Lizzie already knows this and has contacted Maddie privately before just to make sure she won't be paying for submission in vain. Lizzie keeps editions number 1 through 10.
Get bribed.
So this is Lizzie. So this is a creator for herself and her friends from the art collective she started a couple years ago. Now she goes onto the market and puts 30 out of 90 remaining issuance allocation on the market. They are an immediate success, and she sells out the rest of her collection at a public auction in the main plaza market.
Oh, I kind of understand now. So I think the collections are supposed to be, like you said, the categories. So a curator is actually someone who's the manager of that category.
So like Shibu.
Well, hold on a second though. So they're saying that the person that creates them, who is making money off the rest of them? Like, okay, is a curator making money off the rest of them?
So I think that
That's a
will
good
be
point.
explained further down, how
Okay.
the profit share is maybe. But as so far I understand it, as a curator being in charge of a category, so like 2019 footwear collection, and then people submit to me, I approve it, and they're in my collection, but they can only be in my collection, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Like my category.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense for them to go apply to like 100 different collections, because then there'd be no point being a curator.
Yeah.
But no, but who makes them? Like, so it says she gets 10 out of the 100. Let's say that hopefully that's what they're talking about. She gets 10 out of the 100, and then the rest of the 100, 30 out of the 90. I don't understand where they're getting these numbers.
I think
What are you
it's just all hypothetical.
So
I don't think it has any bearing on
100 get minted. She keeps 10. She puts 30 into the allocation to the market. They sell out, and then she sells the remaining 60 on the main plaza market.
So it's up to her. It's she can put them out at her discretion. Like she doesn't have to put out all 90 all at once. Is what that means, I think.
So basically, the creator for the wearable, the designer, they have full control as to how much is actually released into the market.
That's true.
So, like, say,
I wonder if they have to make that proposal before they put it out into the collection.
That would make sense, because we would make 100 T-shirt block runners, and every month the monthly winner would get a T-shirt, even though we have 100 of them, and that's how we monetize it.
But that's the thing are they saying that if you make 100 T-shirts, that 60 of them are going somewhere else?
No, they're saying that you make 100 T-shirts.
You decide what to do.
And then the person that creates it says, I'm going to keep 10 for myself, and 90 of them I'm going to put out there for people to buy.
Okay. So they're all right. Okay. They're saying like a hypothetical, this what she's decided to do with it, as opposed to like what the parameters are for it.
Yeah, because I could make 100 T-shirts. They say block runner. I give each of you guys a T-shirt, so that way you can kind of show off that you have one, which would encourage others to maybe want to get one. And I said, well, to get one, you have to play our games, and you have to be good at them, and that's the only way to get it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we don't know whether or not the 90 remaining ones are going to be sold on the market. Is selling them on the market the only option we have, or can we just distribute them the way we want to?
I think the designer has
that you have to have
however you wanted to, so you could drive traffic.
Yeah.
Outside of just the market side of it, you'd want to be able to like the DCG guys. Those guys gave them out to their people like incentive.
Yeah, that's right.
I think they've given like 2 of them out. They got they're all epics, all the DCG stuff.
Yeah, they gave one to 2 set, and they gave one.
Yeah.
No, they get those. I thought those were legendary. Those are legendary.
Oh yeah, legendary. My bad. Out of 100. Yeah.
But
I think the designer should have say into how they're going to be distributed. Either it's going to be completely on the market, or is it going to be through some other gaming mechanism or giveaways or whatever it is.
Yeah, because I think that's one thing that we could use to drive.
Yeah, totally.
Other things. Exactly. Yeah. So it like constraining it to just putting on the DCR market. I don't know if that's the best use case for making user-made, wearables.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for like, let's say a company wants to come in, make a big splash, they make a bunch of user made wearables that say their company name on it. They give them to a bunch of brand new people that are like going to Decentraland because of them, you know.
Yeah.
And so they gave them away in that fashion, you know, and you just ate the, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to guess that when you're putting all these plans together, you're going to have to specify the percentage that you're going to release and the amount of time that you're going to have to release it. Also, so you might be able to release it however you want, but they got to be done in a year.
My bad.
No, go ahead.
I'm obviously not tearing through this thing right now, but I'm just saying, like, what's going to happen? You got to imagine that the curator is going to get some sort of compensation as well. So you got to imagine that the curator is going to be putting up a sizable amount of the money and taking a sizable amount of them and deciding what she wants to do with them, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're a curator, I mean, and you have that incentive, what's stopping you from just saying, I'll push your stuff, like, do whoever comes. Like, I guess you have to vote for the DAO, but is there a limit to how many votes we can put up for wearables in X amount of time, or can anyone just kind of pump that stuff in?
I mean, that. If they put a DAO up that we're voting on all the wearables and stuff, that's going to be such a live situation.
How do you keep up with it? That's what I mean. How do you keep up with it? If we have 6 votes in a month for wearable stuff,
like yourself and myself who are invested in wearables, and that's gonna matter to us. So you get involved, and then the people who don't care so much probably don't get involved in that. You know,
there's so much stuff into this, and it's just wearables.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, but I think this is a good start though, because we just outlined different use cases for wearables and creating them. Like we would create some to use them for games. And other people would just literally create them just for the market to sell, and others would be using them to promote an event, and that's it. Mm-hmm. If only 10 people show up to your event and you have 100 T-shirts that you minted, then there's only 10 out there in existence, right? Or does the designer have access to a whole 100?
Well, the whole thing is that you would probably have you're trying to make it so somebody has to put money up. So in order for them to start that venture, just like any T-shirt, just like if you would make a T-shirt in life, So if it costs you money to put that up, hey, if you want to eat that and you want to have a box full of T-shirts like I've had in the past, for whatever event, then
it's true. Box. Yeah, the market will decide how valuable they are. I say, hey, Frankie, I want some of those T-shirts. I'll just buy some. And you sell them for whatever it is that makes sense for you, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like not that you really equate these, but the T-shirts for the teams that didn't win the championship, but they made the T-shirts.
Yeah, anyway. Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think it wouldn't be a good idea to keep talking about this. It'd be better to just get August on and give us his mindset, and then we can pick it apart, or he can give us insight as to whether this is the only model they're thinking about or if there's more.
Yeah.
That would probably be the best play.
Mm-hmm.
So let's
so that's it.
You guys want to oh wait, there may be more topics.
But we're exactly 90 minutes.
Are we?
Yeah.
Are we done?
Exactly 90 minutes.
Oh, what time is it?
It's 6:52 Central Time.
We got to get over to Frankie's party here in a minute.
Yeah,
Frankie, shout that out. Well, I guess no one's going to see this before your party starts, but what's the coordinates to your land and everything, that if someone wants to come and just kick it and listen to music, that they could do so?
-67, -114.
-67, -114. Okay, you got some nice stuff around your land there too.
Oh, that's a neighborhood, man. Me and Polygon on my crew.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys go down there and check that stuff out, there's going to be more than just his building for you to check out. I mean, you probably got a solid 20 minutes of exploring just in that 3 to 5 parcel radius. So
I believe I'm up. I'm gonna go check it out right now.
Yeah.
So what time does it start? Like in how many hours, Frankie?
Now?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then by the
I said to be as soon as we were done with this. Pretty much I've been there.
Yeah.
And then by the time this is released too, we should have the fashion show and everything public for the Grand Theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And I think, Maddie, last we spoke, we had Josie on board for the judges. We had Josie and Whale Shark and Andrew Steinwald and Shibu from the Decentraland team, who's the person behind the artwork for a lot of the wearables.
Nice.
I'm thinking of getting the Sketchfab guy as well. What's his name? I forgot his name. But the CEO of Sketchfab, I reckon we could get him because 3D modeling, designing should be up his alley.
That's a great resource.
But yeah, I have a lot of high hopes for that event. We got a lot of pretty big names on board for it. We've been working with Carl and KJ, who's the creator of the Grand Theater. They're doing a lot of stuff in there that's just special for that event. That's probably going to be, I'm thinking like 11 p.m. UTC time on Saturday night.
Nice.
So going to be a ton of prizes and everything like that for everyone. So
I think we should be able to get some decent sponsorships as well.
Yeah, we already have Chain Guardians on board because their crate sale's on that Tuesday.
Oh, that's right.
So their crate sale is going to be going on during the fashion show.
Nice.
So we have
that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with all the different metaverse projects kind of having a representative there, all for Somnium Space, who I reached out to today on Twitter. I haven't heard back from. But we have a lot of different projects represented. So hopefully we get a lot of different users, a lot of new users from those projects. So if you're someone who's committed to Decentraland and comes out for this stuff on a regular basis, I strongly encourage you to come out to this because we're probably going to be needing a lot of your help to answer a lot of questions and stuff from new users. Hopefully new users.
Excellent. That sounds exciting, man. It looks like a lot of stuff is coming together for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of stuff in the general chat just today. A lot of people are starting to do stuff with different little events and a lot of people being inspired to create new stuff. It's encouraging. I feel like there's a lot of people that are kind of paying attention to some of the stuff that other people are doing, creation and content wise, and following suit. And that's what we need.
Well, it's the fun stuff that's going to get people. Like this, the wearables thing and getting involved and it being fun to just join and pass time with.
Yep.
Anyway.
Fun, free, entertaining. You got a chance to win probably some pretty good prizes. So.
By the way, DCL Core, just wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Oh, that's right, dude. Do you want to share your screen on that, Maddie, what you have?
Yeah, man.
And do you want to do this on record or it's just...
I don't know. You can offer now, I guess.
Okay, so we'll end it here. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll put everybody's Twitter on video too. And so, sayonara, I guess.
Yeah. Nice chatting, guys. Yep. See you at Frankie's.
Come party with me, Eric.